I've worked a lot of odd jobs in my life. Construction, delivery driver, warehouse work, you name it, I've done it. But a few weeks ago, I came across a job listing that stood out. Night security needed. Historic Starlight Hotel, $25 per hour. $25 an hour for a night shift? That's the kind of pay you don't question, you just apply. And that's exactly what I did. I figured it'd be easy, just sitting at a desk, checking cameras, maybe walking the halls once or twice. I'd heard the Starlight was practically abandoned. It used to be a big deal back in the 60s, but now it was just a rundown building waiting to be renovated. The next day, I got a call. The manager, Mr. Thompson, sounded relieved to hear I was interested. He asked me to come in that evening for a quick orientation. No interview, no background check, just, can you start tonight? I should have known something was off. I showed up at 10:45 p.m. The Starlight looked worse than I expected. The once grand hotel was a shadow of its former self. Cracked windows, faded signs, and an eerie stillness that made my stomach turn. Mr. Thompson met me in the lobby. He was a wiry man with deep bags under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. He handed me a clipboard with a list of rules and gave me a half-hearted smile. "Just follow these," he said, "and you'll be fine." The rules were unusual. Always keep the lobby lights on. Check the cameras every 20 minutes. Do not enter room 308. If the phone rings, don't answer it. At 3:15 a.m., lock yourself in the office until 3:30 a.m. I raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. The pay was good, and I wasn't about to ruin my chances on the first night. The first couple of hours were uneventful. The hotel was dead silent, except for the occasional creak of the old pipes. I walked the halls, shone my flashlight into empty rooms, and tried to shake off the unease that was settling in my chest. At 12:15, I was back in the office, flipping through the camera feeds. That's when I noticed it. On the screen showing the lobby, the chandelier was swaying. There was no draft, no open windows, just that slow, rhythmic sway. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, but nothing else happened. I told myself it was the old building settling. I had to stay calm. By 1 a.m., I'd done another patrol. The hotel felt bigger at night, the hallways stretching on endlessly, each shadow darker than the last. When I passed room 308, I felt it. A cold, heavy presence, like the air was thicker around that door. The rule flashed in my mind. Do not enter room 308. I hurried past, but something made me glance back. The door handle moved. I froze, my heart pounding. It was subtle, just a faint jiggle, like someone was testing the lock. I backed away slowly, my flashlight trembling in my hand. I didn't stick around to see if it moved again. At 2:30 a.m., I was back in the office, staring at the cameras. Everything looked normal, quiet, still. Then the phone rang. I nearly jumped out of my chair. The shrill sound cut through the silence like a knife. My first instinct was to answer it, but I stopped myself. Rule 4. If the phone rings, don't answer it. I stared at the receiver, my palms sweating. The ringing didn't stop. It just went on, louder and more insistent. I clenched my fists, willing it to stop, but it didn't. After what felt like an eternity, the ringing stopped. The silence that followed was worse. At 3 a.m., I started my last patrol. The hotel felt different. The air was heavier, the shadows darker. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to leave, but I couldn't. When I reached the lobby, I froze. There was someone standing at the front desk. I could only see their silhouette, a tall, dark figure, perfectly still. My flashlight flickered as I raised it, and when the beam hit the desk, they were gone. Just like that. I backed away, my legs trembling, and hurried back to the office. 3:15 a.m. When the clock struck 3:15, I locked myself in the office, just like the rules said. The next 15 minutes were the longest of my life. At first, it was quiet, too quiet. Then, I heard it, a faint scratching at the door. I held my breath, clutching my flashlight like a weapon. The scratching turned into tapping, light and rhythmic, like fingernails on wood. Then came the voice. "Let me in." It was a woman's voice, soft and sweet, but something about it was wrong. It sounded hollow, like it wasn't coming from a real person. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying for the clock to hit 3:30. The tapping stopped, and for a moment, I thought it was over. Then the doorknob turned. I jumped back, my heart racing, but the door didn't open. Whoever, or whatever, it was couldn't get in. When the clock finally hit 3:30, the noise stopped. The last hour was a blur. I couldn't focus on the cameras, couldn't think straight. I just sat there, waiting for the sun to rise. At 6 a.m., Mr. Thompson returned. "How'd it go?" he asked, his tone casual. I stared at him, my hands still trembling. "What the hell is this place?" He didn't answer. He just smiled, handed me an envelope with my pay, and said, "See you